Hello there guys, my name is Unstable Voltage and today I'm going to be taking a quick look at Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Now I know every YouTuber and his dog has covered this recently because it is one of the biggest and most anticipated AAA game releases of the year, but I've been playing the game for about 30 hours now, including doing a fair bit of it on live streaming with my audience, and I thought it'd be a good time to weigh in and give my opinion on the game. This is the PC version that I am playing. It was a copy that I purchased myself, and I am going to avoid spoilers by just basically sticking to side ops and things that don't really matter. Now, I have played a couple of the previous Metal Gear Solid games. I've played Metal Gear Solid, the original one on the PlayStation 1, and Metal Gear Solid 4 on the PS4. So this is my first Metal Gear Solid game on the PC version. And if those of you who don't know what Metal Gear Solid is, essentially they have always been third-person stealth action games. Now, this is no exception, except that now it has transitioned into an open world type game. Now I actually really like open world type games. Action stealth games aren't my favourite genre, but I really do like open world, which is what led me to go out and get Metal Gear Solid 5. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about the game. Just before we talk about the game itself, I have to say this on the PC version, it seems to be very, very well optimized. My rig is aging a little bit. I've got an i7 processor, 3.4 gigahertz. I can't remember which generation it is. I'm running with 12 gigs of RAM, a GeForce 770, and I've got the video settings up to almost max, and it still runs absolutely flawlessly. I haven't seen any frame drops. It runs really, really smoothly. And from what I've heard from a lot of other people, this game has a lot of scalability and runs well on a number of systems. It's controllable via a gamepad and via mouse and keyboard. The on-screen prompts will change automatically depending on what you are using. I'm currently using a 360 pad. The keys are fully rebindable. I'm a little bit of an unknown quantity with third-person games, open world games. Sometimes I prefer to use a pad, sometimes I prefer to use a mouse and keyboard. For me in this game, I think controlling character movement and camera movement seems to be easier with the pad, although it does make aiming a little bit difficult, which can be important sometimes. One slightly disappointing thing that I do have to mention is there aren't any separate volume sliders for things like dialogue, music, sound effects, which can sometimes mean that you miss important lines of dialogue when you're standing near things like the helicopter because they are very loud. So basically this game takes place before some of the other Metal Gear Solid games do, because they're not all in chronological order, but I'm not going to go ahead and spoil any of the story, but it might explain why sometimes technology in this game doesn't seem as advanced as it is in some of the other Metal Gear Solid games, for example. So we're on board the helicopter. This is basically our sort of mobile base. This is where we stage all of our operations from, pretty much. And this thing will just fly around. We stay here, and we orchestrate everything from our iDroid, which is basically our PDA. Now, there are a couple of things that we can do here. First of all, we've got the map, which we can zoom in and out of. Now, this is just really one area of the map. This is part of Afghanistan. There are other places that you can visit later in the game, but this is just one part of the map. We've also got Mother Base, which is essentially an offshore oil platform that is used as our base of operations. And this is where you go to manage things such as your development. You can go here and actually develop new weapons, equipment for your buddies, and initially you just start off with a horse as a buddy. You can also upgrade the helicopter. If we just have a quick look in here, I don't want to go through too much stuff, but as you can see, these are just the things that I can currently research. There's quite a lot of stuff in there, including the old iconic cardboard box. And there's more and more pages of stuff that I can go through, because a lot of stuff here is locked that I don't have the ability to research yet. So as you can see, there are just pages and pages of different weapons, different items, different bits of equipment that can be manufactured, upgraded, deployed into battle. There is a lot of different stuff and a lot of upgrade paths that you can do with them. So there's going to be, if you're the sort of person that likes getting upgrades and finding new weapons and new tools and things, there's a lot of stuff. One thing that I will say about it is there are a lot of requirements sometimes for actually being able to unlock new items. So first of all, you need to make sure you have enough of the game's in-game currency to be able to do that, which is known as GMP. And you get that by completing missions and finding various collectibles while out on the field. You also need certain resources. Resources like fuel and metals and biomaterial, again, those are usually collected while you are out on missions, although you can upgrade your base to get them passively. And you'll also see there on the right hand side that we have these different sort of units, the R&D team, the base development unit, the support unit. You have to get these teams up to a certain level in order to be able to research some of these items, and in order to do that you have to go out onto the field and capture soldiers that you can actually use for your sort of own staff, really. And that's another sort of important side game. Also, there are some of the items that just require you to find blueprints on the map, and also to capture a specific person who maybe has some inside knowledge on how to make something. So there's quite a bit that you can do in there. You can also customize it. That is mainly used for the online element of the game, which is something that I'll talk about a little bit more. And as you can see, we've got the resources. You've got staff management, which is where you can actually go ahead and move the various people around that you've captured and move them between the various different departments on the base. And you can also build and expand the base if you've got the money and materials to do so. You can actually make the base quite a bit bigger, which allows you to have more staff. There's also a database which keeps note of all of the stuff that you find within the game. The other thing that we've got over here, you can see we have the missions. There are the story missions. I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to sort of spoil anything. Now, the first hour or two of the game is fairly linear. Has a really excellent opening sequence, but it's very, very scripted. But it serves as the game's tutorial. And once you get past the first couple of hours, then you start getting into a point where you have a bit more free reign. Most of the time, you're given between 2 and 4 main story missions that you can complete in any order. And those main story missions will have a main objective, a number of side objectives, and when you complete them, you will normally get a score ranking. Now, these missions are much harder than the side ops because they are more scripted and usually have more enemies on the map. And one of the things that is a little bit strange is that the side missions, well, not the side missions, but the secondary objectives for the main missions are normally all hidden, so you won't actually know what they are. Sometimes you will come across them by accident during a mission and complete them, but most of the time you will actually have to wait until you've completed the mission, and then it will tell you what the side objectives were that you missed. Now, you can go back and replay any mission at any time. You'll also find that you've got a number of side ops that you can do. There are combat deployment missions, which are missions that you can get your staff to do. And one quite important thing here are these things. These are the cassette tapes. Now, what you have here, there's 2 different things you can do with cassette tapes. First of all, you can actually find these music cassettes hidden around the map. You can just rob them out of cassette players, and you've got different music that you can listen to while you play. But a lot of these things are actually briefings, and they're actually bits of the storyline. Now, it's very, very difficult to make a story in a game that is open world compared to one that is very scripted, and the story is still quite good, but unfortunately a lot of the really useful information and the really good story tidbits are all hidden away in these audio logs, and unless you actually go through and listen to these audio logs, you do miss out on quite a bit of the story. So it is a shame that they are hidden in this menu. But there you go, that's one of the things that they decided to relegate because they wanted to have the game have an online element and microtransactions. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and return to our mother base. We've expanded it by quite a bit. I'm going to try and hopefully land somewhere where there isn't going to be any story spoilers. So let me go and land over here on this platform. So as I said, your base serves as a base of operations mainly for your research, because you want to upgrade all of the different departments you have, because that allows you to do more stuff in the game. But it also partially serves for some of the story missions, and it also serves in a way towards the online element. Now, the online element isn't something that I have any interest in at all. Basically what you can do is you can create things called a forward operating base. And these forward operating bases will passively gain for you various materials and currency that you can use in the game. Now, what can happen is another player can actually join your enter your base, your forward operating base, and that player can actually try and infiltrate and steal stuff from you. Now, you can defend it yourself. If you're there, you can go around and try and hunt that player down and kill them. You also have your own staff, which will patrol the base and try and take them out, so they have to infiltrate past your staff. And also, while you're out in the world, you can collect things like machine guns and mortars and place those around your base for a little bit of protection. At the same rate, you can actually go and invade somebody else's forward operating base, and that's basically the multiplayer in a nutshell. However, you start off only being able to have one forward operating base. You get one for free. It is then possible to get more forward operating bases, but in order to do that, you actually have to pay for these little microtransactions, which is where the game kind of falls down. It's a full price AAA release. I'm not too sure about the price in America, but in the UK it's £46, which is quite expensive even for a AAA game. But this is my base. These guys are all on my side, and they will be quite happy to see me. You can even practice your interrogation techniques on them if you wish to. And they'll often give you little bits of information, like where they've spotted diamonds and things around the map. And indeed, we can actually see a diamond over there, so you will find these things hidden around the map. Now, this is one of the reasons that the base exists, because it allows you to go around and find these little collectibles. There are also a couple of side missions that you can actually do at the mother base. Most of these side missions are just what are referred to as target practice. So there's one here, for example, and if we just go over here, this is one of the target practice missions. They're very, very basic. Need to make sure we've got the right gun equipped. So this one is just a mission against the clock, basically to shoot some targets. Doing so will reward us with a little bit of in-game currency. Now, a lot of the side missions do actually get reset. So even though you can play most missions, you can replay them over and over again, you will find that some of the side ops missions actually get re-highlighted, meaning that you're not replaying it, you're just basically doing the same mission again for a different reward. Now, this is one of the problems that I do have with this game, is sometimes it can feel a little bit repetitive. You often find that the missions, whether they're side ops or whether they're story missions, all basically revolve around you doing the same thing. You're either infiltrating somewhere to eliminate somebody, whether that's killing them or capturing them is often up to you, or you're infiltrating somewhere to steal something, or you're infiltrating somewhere to blow something up, or you are infiltrating somewhere to rescue someone. That is basically the 4 mission types that you get. And beyond that, you're basically visiting the same areas over and over again. So what you'll sometimes find is, if we go and have a look at the missions, if we look at the side ops. So we look at the side ops here, you can see there's quite a few side ops that I've already done. There's also a couple that are unticked, which means these are new missions. But then you'll also find some, like these ones here. You can see that I've actually done some of these target practice missions before, because they're already ticked, but they're highlighted. So you can do these missions every single time you return to the base, and you'll always get a reward for doing them. Now, it's a good way to grind money, but unfortunately it starts to feel a little bit like doing a daily quest, and I tend to find myself logging in and just doing them every single day because it is a really quick and easy way to get money, although it can become boring quite fast. There are a few other nice little things that you can find around the base to do. It's a good place where you can mess around and practice some of your skills and techniques, and you've even got showers here that you can jump into. It gets rid of the blood splatter, also recovers your health. So there are quite a few nice little mechanics in there. So I'm going to go and show you guys one of the missions. I'm going to go and do a side mission. So the first thing that I want to do here is I want to get a helicopter to pick me up. So I'm going to go and request a helicopter pickup support and get him to pick me up right here. Okay, so I did have to make a little cut in there because despite not wanting to show spoilers, the game decided that it was going to throw a random story cutscene in the middle of all of that. So I'm now on board the helicopter and we are going to go over and do one of the side missions that's available. I'm going to do one that I've already done before because that means that I don't have to worry about trying to really concentrate too much on what I'm going to do. So let's just go and have a look at, I guess we could do one of these actually that I haven't done. So extracting a prisoner. So actually let's not do that one. I have a feeling that one might be a problem. There were a report of a couple of bugs on a couple of missions. That was one of the ones that was reportedly bugged. So I think I will do one that that we've already done before. So let's go in and yeah, see, some of them it won't let you redo the side ops, but sometimes it will let you redo certain side ops. But main missions, story missions, you can always redo. So let's go ahead and do Extract the highly skilled soldier. We'll go and do that one. So it gives us a number of landing zones on the map where we can actually land. Now this is the big problem with this game. You'll see that the map is actually quite big and quite open. But most of the areas on the map are actually unpopulated. These big villages, these are where most of the enemy troops can be found. And then these little outposts are normally insignificant and have maybe 2 or 3 troops at them that can be very easily eliminated. So we have our mission to do, which is up here in this camp, and we want to land in an area that's relatively close by to it. In fact, where exactly is the mission? So the mission is actually here in this blue zone. So let's go and land as close to it as we can. So before you commence the mission, you get to choose your equipment. You can choose what you take along with you, and it does cost you in-game currency to deploy. I want to change out my primary weapon here. I don't want to take a rocket launcher for this mission. I'd sooner take my sniper rifle with me, which is what I prefer to do. And you can change things like your buddy. You start off, you just have the horse as a buddy, but later on you get other things that you can use as well. Again, I'm not really going to go into detail that because it might give a little bit away in terms of the story. So let's go ahead on this mission. Now, I actually find the story's quite good. It's Hideo Kojima's usual style of stuff, so some of it is a little bit wacky and zany, a little bit supernatural, and a little bit sci-fi, although I do find certain elements of the story can be a little bit contrived, especially one bit of the story that is there to explain why a certain female character spends most of the game pretty much naked while everyone else is wearing full tactical gear. And it's one of the most contrived reasons for a woman to be pretty much naked in a video game that you'll have ever heard. Now, I know that doesn't bother a lot of people, and to be honest, it doesn't really bother me, but I don't like the way that they've sort of tried to shoehorn a reason into the story. If you want to put a woman in a game and make her wearing next to nothing, fine, it's up to you, it's your game. But don't try and write it into the story and make it seem like it's a plot point, because it really isn't. So as you can see, the game actually looks quite pretty. I mean, again, it is mainly sort of brown. We are pretty much out in a desert, so how much can you do with that? There is some greenery around, lots of details. And like I said, I don't even have this game running on the highest video settings. I do have it running on quite some high settings, but not everything is up to max. And it still looks very, very good on my system. Runs at a constant, silky smooth 60 frames per second, which is really good. So here we go, we have the horse, and I don't always use the horse quite a lot because sometimes I find it gets in the way and it's a little bit difficult to control. Now, another thing that you will notice on the map here, if you look at those 6 icons up in the top right hand corner, you'll see some of them are lit white and some of them are greyed out. And that's basically because this game has an evolving difficulty level. So for example, if you get lots of headshots on enemy soldiers in the game, then that second icon will light up, which will mean that some enemy soldiers will start wearing helmets, meaning you can't headshot them, not with a single shot anyway. Eventually it'll turn orange and even red as more and more soldiers start to wear these helmets. So there are things you can do to disrupt that, but it certainly does make everything interesting. Just trying to find why I've not got my marker on the map for where I need to go. So apparently it is at the ruins. Most of the different side ops all appear on the map at the same time, which can make things a little bit confusing, but we need to go down here. So I'm going to go ahead and use the horse. Now, you will find that there are certain areas of the map that are blocked off from you, certain places that you can only get to once you've completed certain story missions. And this is one of the things that I dislike about the game. Yes, I understand that when you have an open world, you do have to have some sort of artificial barriers. You have to have some invisible walls somewhere so that people can't just go and access all of the map straight away. But it is quite disappointing that the first few side ops that you get, you end up doing the same area of the map over and over again. Now, eventually you will go off and do some more story missions, and that will open up some more of the map for you. And then you'll find yourself doing story missions over and over again in those areas of the map and basically rinse and repeat. Now, despite the fact that it can get quite repetitive, I still actually find it quite a lot of fun. So we're going to go over on foot, just because it's a little bit easier doing that. Now, something that you've seen in a lot of these third-person games now, you have basically the binoculars that allow me to spot where enemy soldiers are. They also allow me to find enemy soldiers that have a particular talent or a particular skill. Like this guy, he's got quite a high level of skill. We could tag him up and then remember to go and try and get that guy later on if we wanted to. And never remember what the mission is here. Sometimes you find when going into the menu that it can be a little bit slow and you see the loading thing going on, and that's because you're connected to the online system. Now, like I said, I've got no interest at all in the online element of this game, so you can quite easily disconnect from the server, and it does speed things up quite a bit when getting into menus. However, there's no default option to stay offline, so every time you reconnect or every time you restart the game, it will automatically reconnect you to the server. That is something that I don't particularly enjoy about this. So the game does focus on stealth, and you have many different ways that you can sneak around, ways that you can distract guards, ways that you can silently incapacitate guards. And when you're doing the story missions, just like all previous Metal Gear Solid games beforehand, if you can get around without getting detected by anybody, if you can sneak around the map and complete your objective without getting any kills and without getting seen, you will get a better score than if you get spotted. Of course, you can still go loud and proud if that is something that you wish to do. There is nothing to stop you just pulling out a sniper rifle and just shooting everybody in the head. Of course, sometimes that can make things more difficult for you because you will often find that you end up having to deal with a lot more bad guys because they can radio for help. It's much easier to deal with the guys one by one if you can than having a whole battalion of men come running towards you because you've been spotted or you've let them know you were there. So you do have to consider carefully what you were going to do. I do think the game is a lot more forgiving than previous Metal Gear Solid games, mainly because it is open world. This gives you the ability to actually go around the map and find several different ways in which you can deal with the guards. It's much easier than scripted games where you pretty much have to come in from one side on most occasions. So it is quite an interesting addition, making this game into a third-person game. Now, I can say, oh, been spotted by a sniper there. We need to get out of the way. They may well sound the alarm. He has actually sounded the alarm. I wasn't expecting there to be any snipers there, which is quite disappointing. Now, this guy is wearing a helmet, so I messed this one up quite heavily. We can go and knock him out, get out of the way slightly. And I can swap to my my gun that actually does damage here. Now this guy has a shield, which isn't ideal, but there are ways to deal with that. Now I might end up messing up this mission because this mission is to actually rescue a highly skilled soldier. The problem that we have here is if I kill the highly skilled soldier, then I can basically be in a bit of trouble. So I'm going to try and find out these guys over here, see if either of those are the guy that we need to get. Doesn't look like they are. Now, I do have this one guy that I did knock out, and I would like to recover him if I can. These guys are throwing grenades and all sorts of stuff, so let me just see if we can just get rid of a few of these guys. It was typical that the mission was never going to go well. So one of the things you have is this Fulton recovery device, which basically allows you to pop somebody up into the air, like so. And that's how you recover soldiers to actually fight for you on your base. It's quite an interesting little idea. Now, I've got to be careful here because I don't want to... That's one of the snipers. You're being very annoying, sir. Please stop. Now, I still need to find this highly skilled soldier. Now, I've made a right pig's ear of this mission, but this is probably a good thing because it's actually demonstrating here that you don't necessarily have to be perfect in what you do. Now, the enemies can be a little bit stormtrooper. They can be a little bit dumb. Like this guy, he's constantly shooting on the other side because that's where he last saw me. I can go now and just fire a tranquilizer dart at him. I couldn't headshot him because he was wearing a helmet, but it will knock him out eventually. Not too sure if he has any buddies around. And as yet, we haven't actually found the other guy, so I don't know where all of these snipers are. He's throwing a grenade, so let's make sure that we go around the other side where that's not going to hit us. There we go, he is now out. We could pick up this shield if we wanted. There is another guy down there. Is that our guy? No, that's not our guy. Wow, there's a lot of people around here. probably a lot better if you actually, you know, use the aim. So there's a lot of people shooting at us. There's some people around somewhere, but because, as I said, because stealth action isn't a genre that I play a lot of, I actually quite like this way that it doesn't matter too much if you do mess things up. Now, if you mess up on a story mission, it's going to be a lot more difficult than it is if you mess up on a mission like this. So we've got a guy up there firing at us as well. He's quite highly skilled. It'd be nice to get him on board, so maybe we can go over and get to him without him being able to take us out. Now, there are a lot of troops around, so sometimes you have to sort of just stay crouched. Now, the game does have a health recovery system, much like you will have seen in other games. And each time you lose health, you do actually take longer to recover your health. So, it's not like the old Metal Gear Solid games where you actually had a health bar. And in order to recover your health, you would then go and use medical items like health kits and various different bits and pieces like that. So, you've got this this health recovery system, which a lot of games are doing now, and I do think it makes things a little bit easier. You often find that all you need to do is just go and run and hide for a little bit, especially because the AI is a little bit dumb when it comes to spotting you sometimes. Still haven't managed to find this one specific soldier that we're trying to find. Now they're all going and looking for me over in one direction, so we're going to go over in the other direction. Deal with the guy that's up there in the watchtower, because doing that will allow us to get ourselves another fairly good soldier. So this is another consideration. If you just want to go around and kill everybody without actually trying to capture people, it's going to take a very long time for you actually to be able to get your base up to a decent number of staff. So you really do have to stop and think about who you are going to kill and who you're actually going to try and capture. But it's very, very easy to lure the enemy away so that they go and fight somewhere else. So we can climb up here, we can get up behind this guy, and we can grab him. We can go ahead and interrogate him and try and find out where the person is that we need to rescue. And we can ask him where the rest of the enemies are. And if we want to knock him out and recover him, I can just sort of throw him off the platform here. That didn't actually work the way it should have done. So I can't actually... We'll sort of kick him down. Now he will sort of get back up again because of the way that worked, but we can knock him out again. So sometimes the controls can be a little bit finicky, but they're not usually too bad. And sometimes you do find ammo and various collectibles inside the building, so it's always worth looking out for them. Haven't found the soldier yet, which is a little bit concerning. But generally, as far as I'm concerned, this game is very good. It's definitely one of the best open world games that I have played recently. It's nice to have an open world game that doesn't have that Arkham style of combat. There isn't much hand-to-hand combat in this game. Most of the hand-to-hand combats are instant takedowns. So there's not going to be a lot of time where you're actually sort of grappling or fighting with troops. That's our target. He is all the way over there and he appears to be a sniper. So that's the guy that we need to capture. We've got to be careful about this. I'm going to switch over to my non-lethal weapon. Looks like he's actually heading my way, which is quite nice if he chooses to come this way. Now, he didn't spot me, but I have hit him with the tranquilizer. That should be enough to knock him out. So sometimes on some of these missions, you don't necessarily have to kill absolutely everybody. You just have to do enough to complete the mission. So hopefully this guy will drop. He is wearing a helmet, which means I can't really do much about him. Hopefully he's not going to see me. And look at that. What was I saying about Stormtrooper AI? He actually walked right past me. Even if I hadn't tranquilized him, I could have quite easily grabbed him just there and knocked him out silently. So, off he goes. And there we are, that is the mission basically completed. He's coming too. Roger that. So we can go ahead and just finish off the rest of the guards here if we want. And it doesn't really matter at this point if I decide to go loud, because the side ops, as I said, don't really have a score system. If you are playing the story missions, they do have a score system, and if you're the sort of person that likes to get completion and S ranks, you'll probably find that you end up going through the story missions multiple times in order to get the best scores possible. I personally don't really mind all that much. If I can get an S rank, then I will gladly get an S rank, but most of the time, I just don't bother. Now, you do get a certain amount of time if you do get spotted by the enemy, like just happened there, where you get a few seconds of bullet time that gives you the opportunity to take the enemy out. And as you can see, we've killed everybody here now. The outpost is captured, and we can move around freely and use that as an opportunity to try and find all of the hidden valuables that might be scattered around on the map, though there probably isn't many here. All you have to do then to get out of the mission is you can either go straight onto another mission from wherever you are, or you can just go and request a helicopter to come and pick you up, which is exactly what I'll do. I'll pick a spot for the helicopter to pick me up. If you want to call the horse, you can see the horse, he's over there, he's marked on the map by that little green diamond, but there is a way to quickly call him, and he'll basically just sort of teleport over, and now, would you look at that, he's behind us. So, much like it does in The Witcher 3, he just sort of appears. Now, the helicopter can be useful for some other things as well. You can actually get the helicopter to drop in supplies. So, if you wear out the suppressor on your gun, or you use all your ammo, or you use one of your tools, your C4, your grenades, whatever, and you need some more stuff, you can actually call in a helicopter to drop supplies to you out in the field. Now, it does take it a little bit of time to arrive, and it does cost you money to be able to do it, but it's a very good way to resupply out on the field. You can also call in the helicopter for support in certain instances, where it can actually provide fire support against units on the ground, or it can drop smoke screens. Again, doing so takes time and costs money, but not only that, you'll also find that it will reduce the maximum rank that you can get if you use it in a story mission. So you do have to be careful when using the helicopter as a support tool. So I've basically shown you what the game has to offer without going into story missions, which, as I said, I don't really want to do because I don't want to spoil anything. But overall, I found that the game is a lot of fun. It runs really well. It looks really, really good, even though you find that the missions can be quite repetitive because you're often doing the same thing over and over again in the same areas over and over again. There's still a lot of fun to do. There's a lot of different items, there's a lot of different weapons, so there's a lot of variety in the way that you deal with a particular camp. You may go into a camp to extract a prisoner and do that a certain way, and then later on you may go back into the same camp to extract another prisoner. May well be in a different building, the guards may be in a slightly different place, but maybe this time you decide to go in and try a different technique. Maybe you've got a new piece of equipment or a new weapon and you want to go and use that in the mission. And I think that's also going to be very important on the story missions, because once you've completed them once and you find out about getting what the side ops were for that story mission, when you find out what the secondary objectives were, being able to go back and redo those story missions and take equipment with you that you didn't have available the first time you did it can make that a lot easier. And we gain some extra troops or some extra staff that we can use at our base. But that is basically Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain in a nutshell. I think it's a very good game. I'm about 12% of the way through. Well, 13% tells you down there in the bottom left-hand corner. So 30 hours of play, 13% through. So if it takes me 300 hours to complete this game, then that is going to be pretty good value for money. Even though I am quite surprised at the expense of the game, 46 British pounds is quite a lot even for a AAA game. And then when you consider if you're interested in the multiplayer side of things, there's microtransactions on top of that as well. I think that is a little bit money grabbing from Konami. But if you like stealth action games, if you like open world games, and if you like the Metal Gear Solid franchise, then this game is definitely for you. Even if you don't like all three of those things, I think if you like any combination of the two, then it's probably still worth checking out. It is a lot of fun. Obviously, there's quite a lot of gunplay, quite a lot of sneaking around, not really much hand-to-hand combat like you will have seen in things like Arkham City and Sleeping Dogs and stuff like that, but Shadows of Mordor, that sort of thing. But I still think open world was a very, very brave direction to take the franchise in. But I think it was nice to see something a little bit different. And I don't really score games, but what I would say is this one is... If I did score games, it would have a decently high score. It is one of the best games that I have played this year. Certainly one of the games that has held my attention for the longest period of time. So I would go and check it out if you can. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time, and until then, goodbye for now.